I remembered.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to mute myself now. Go ahead, Ashley.
Okay, wonderful. So like Caitlin mentioned, my name is Ashley, and I've been the Harmony facilitator throughout this journey. And we are going to have some time for question and answers at the end of the presentation. The presentation builds on itself, and so there may be some things that maybe you do have questions on, or you don't necessarily understand, or you want to learn a little bit more about. And so there will definitely be time for that at the end of the presentation. So just make sure that you hold on to that. So for me, it has been such a pleasure to walk alongside the Calgary congregation throughout this journey together. We've had some challenging conversations and some really meaningful dialogue. But it's just been a true joy for me as your facilitator to have grown with you guys in community throughout this this process that we've had together. So I just wanted to share that I've appreciated it so much. So what do we mean by welcoming and affirming? To be a welcoming and affirming congregation means to be a community that publicly, intentionally, and explicitly lives out its affirming policies following a purposeful queer/LGBTQIA2S+ educational curriculum approved by Harmony. And we'll get to Harmony here in a minute, but one thing I would really like to emphasize about the definition that I just read is that it refers to the church's affirming policies, meaning that these policies already exist. So while this welcoming and affirming journey and this welcoming and affirming program that the congregation has been on may be new to you, maybe something you've never heard of, or maybe it's been new to the congregation, being welcoming and affirming in itself isn't a new policy to Community of Christ in Canada. And what I mean by that is that in 2012, Community of Christ members across Canada voted as a body to become an affirming and welcoming church within its borders after years of discernment and a significant investment of resources in intentional dialogue. Community of Christ in Canada maintains fully inclusive policies recognizing the worth, dignity, and giftedness that all human beings, regardless of gender identity or sexual orientation, bring to God's world and the life and mission of the church. Members of the queer/LGBTQ community are fully eligible to participate in the sacraments, priesthood, all levels of church leadership, as well as other benefits and responsibilities guaranteed to church membership according to the membership manual. And so that last sentence that I read is often referred to as full participation. So when you hear people talk about full participation, those items are what they're referring to. So again, while this welcoming and affirming program may be something that you're not familiar with, I really just wanted to reiterate that becoming a welcoming and affirming congregation is really just about applying this existing national policy to the congregational level, publicly, intentionally, and explicitly living out this affirming policy. So next slide, please. So what is Harmony? So Harmony is a nonprofit affiliated with Community of Christ. Harmony's mission is to provide advocacy, education, and resources to queer voices in Community of Christ with a shared vision of full participation. So again, full participation were those items that we had just mentioned. If you've been with Community of Christ for a while, you may have heard of, you may have heard of GALA, which was known as the Gay and Lesbian Acceptance Organization, or the WCN, which was the Welcoming Congregation Network, which helped congregations to become welcoming and affirming, which is what we're doing right now. And so in 2019, GALA and WCN actually became legally merged, becoming one organization as they were working towards common goals. And so the two of those joined together and became Harmony. So while the name Harmony may be newer to you, the mission and ministry is something that has been around for quite some time, as I believe that GALA has been around since or was created. The first meeting was held in the 1980s. So Harmony, again, is the sponsor of this program. They put me through a workshop to be able to facilitate this, and is sponsoring the Welcoming and Affirming program. So next slide, please. So there's so much that could be said about Harmony, and I feel like we could give a whole, just a whole little talk about Harmony and all the wonderful things that they offer. But I just wanted to briefly highlight some of the things that Harmony does offer. One thing that I found to be incredibly interesting is that I didn't know before is that Harmony is actually responsible for the temple planting project. So since 2009, Harmony has been responsible for planting all of the beautiful flowers outside of the temple grounds in Independence, Missouri. When you give to Harmony, you're giving towards that project and for beautifying the temple grounds, which is wonderful. They also proudly provide the Welcoming and Affirming program, retreats, seminar series, monthly worships that are called Sacred Pause worships, and just so much more. So Harmony really does put on just a variety of resources and opportunities for folks to participate in, and really focuses on amplifying the voices of queer folks in Community of Christ and working towards, again, full inclusion. One thing I didn't mention, which I will here real quick, I would be remiss if I didn't. If you would like to learn more about Harmony and become a member, I have pasted the link to join Harmony in the chat box. And we can talk about that later in the Q&A if anyone has any more questions. But that is just kind of the basics on Harmony. So that is all I have on that.
Thank you for sharing that, Ashley. Harmony has just in the last few years really taken a huge role in the queer community and offering so many different things. So we're really excited to have Harmony's current president. Yes. I'm always like president, director, which one is it? Parker Johnson is actually the current president of Harmony. So he is a great resource and a great advocate for that organization. So we're very fortunate to have close ties to that organization. So thanks for sharing that, Ashley. Sorry, again, just going between screens here, trying to find my mouse. So the next slide we have here is, why are we using the word queer? This was something that we spent actually quite a bit of time on in our Welcoming and Affirming program around language, proper pronouns, things like that. And one of the things that we really focused on was using the word queer interchangeably with the 2S LGBTQIA+ acronym to represent the diversity and fullness of this community. So if you look on the right side of your screen there, you will see there's an umbrella there with queer in the rainbow, and then it has LGB on one side that says sexualities, and T for genders on the other side. And really, queer is a term that shows all of the diversity without identifying or putting into perspective either the sexualities or the genders, kind of looking at them equally and being more inclusive. And with this word, queer may have had negative meaning in the past, but it is actively being reclaimed in the 2S LGBTQIA+ community. And it is also the preferred term in academic, theological, and activist circles. So certainly there are still some individuals who don't have a great relationship with this word. And so we recognize that that's part of our journey as we go through this, but we have chosen as a group to use queer interchangeably in this context. And we invite people to also refer to the document about how to use proper terminology and things like that for being welcoming and affirming. There's a nice little write-up that we've made in there that will give you a little bit more information about that. So I think that that's kind of the primer on the background of Harmony, the reason that we're using the word queer, and then we can get into our why, our first question here. So we'll go through the points on the screen here first. So Christian denominations can be discriminatory towards the queer community. Systemic barriers exist to prevent or exclude full participation. Community of Christ upholds and proclaims the worth of all persons, and we are called to actively protest and act against injustices. In recent years, the issue of 2S LGBTQIA+ or queer inclusion in religious circles has become an important discussion. And in Community of Christ, we are guided by the enduring principles, doctrine and covenants, and mission initiatives. These tenets call us to respond to injustices committed against our siblings in Christ. Being in a diverse city positions the Calgary congregation to have a meaningful impact on the local community, as well as those already in our midst. So I spoke to a couple of those already. We can make a really positive impact in our local queer community. Calgary has a thriving queer community. We look forward to participating in Pride and other events like that. Our congregation's recent growth is primarily among queer folks or those that are close to queer individuals. So this is obviously, these are the people that are coming towards Community of Christ for the reasons of full inclusion, full participation, and a different way of worshiping and being involved with the Spirit. And so it's important to us that we are a truly welcoming, affirming, and safe space for these people. And the choice to specifically focus on the queer community is intentional. We'll get more into this in a moment here. But also we believe that queer people have unique stories, experiences, and understandings of the divine, and we really want to promote and embrace those in our group. And to ask the very important question of how do we benefit, we have a message from our pastor, Doug Hayden, if he would be so kind as to approach the pulpit.
To just read the next slide.
To just read the next slide. Yes, you have two slides, I believe, actually. Oh, just this one. There you are.
So you're a little tall. I don't want to pull
Sorry.
the lid back.
Up periscope.
Yes.
Okay, so I'll just read this out and then maybe add a little to it. So we are transforming into the kind of spiritual sanctuary that queer people and their allies have longed for many, many years. And we as a congregation have been richly blessed by the presence and participation of queer congregants for years. And finally, we acknowledge that we are fully welcomed, that they are fully welcomed and accepted. Is this where I can go off the cuff?
Yes,
Go for it.
Improv hour.
I grew up in a generation where if people were in the LGBTQ2S+ community, they kept it to themselves because it was a dangerous world that they lived in. And my own experience was that you suspected somebody was gay or somebody was a lesbian, but it was never said. And my heart aches for the people I know now that were in my generation that I knew that I thought were possibly gay or lesbian, that could never be their true, full, authentic self because of the discrimination and because of the consequences to admit to who they were. And for me, it's a burden for me, but it's something that can be changed. And for me, this is such an incredible opportunity for our church to really be a fully inclusive church. And this is one step. And the other thing, as pastor, I look around and we're in this wonderful new space in our church. And right now it's full of people that are under 50 years old. We are the envy of congregations everywhere. So for me, the other part of my commitment to this program and to this whole exercise is that the priorities and the agendas of the church of the past are no longer the priorities and agenda of the current church and the church of the future. For me, if this program and this effort is a priority for the people in this room and for the people of the next generation, you better believe it's a priority for me. And a lot of the priorities of this next generation revolve around social justice and revolve around issues that are relevant to the world. The opportunity for the Calgary congregation is to be a place that is a true, safe sanctuary for people to have a spiritual home where they can come and worship their Creator and be with people that fully accept and love them. It sounds like a really good idea to me. So I fully endorse it, and I'm very excited about the present and the future for Calgary and all the efforts that are being made. That's the end of my speech. And none of it was written down because I never write any of this stuff down.
Thank you, Doug. I think that I speak on behalf of everyone who's participated in this program, especially those of us who have helped to lead it, that without really strong and intentional buy-in from the leadership, it would not have been as successful as it is. And I don't think that the long-term success of the program would be as hopeful as I see it right now. So thank you, Doug, for all of your commitment and all of your support from the beginning. Even though this has been a difficult journey at times, we've always known that you're on board. And I think that everybody in the program has always known that you're on our side. Whoever side it is, even if someone's struggling, everyone felt like they had your support and your buy-in. So thank you. So another thing that we had discussed during this process is, why are we only focusing on the queer community? Why are we only doing education on that? So it was very important to us to be able to kind of explain that the choice to specifically focus on the queer community is intentional. The Calgary congregation is concerned with the inclusion of all let me start that again. The Calgary congregation is concerned with the inclusion of all minority and oppressed groups, but targeted education and actions better address the unique needs of these groups. And we are excited for more educational opportunities in the future. We are, again, very fortunate to have the resources of Harmony at our disposal. This is something that the Calgary congregation had been wanting to do for a very long time, and it seemed like a natural place to begin as we were hoping to be winding down the pandemic last fall and coming into our new space and hoping to sort of revitalize, rejuvenate, and decide what the first step was. So this is just the beginning. This is hopefully the first of many educational opportunities that we're able to undertake and to be able to address the systemic barriers of participation in our church and how we can make the world a better place, which I think is all of our goal here. So we have next some sharing from some voices in our midst. So we've asked Patricia Ridgway and Sandra Rodriguez if they would share what this program has meant for them and its importance. So whichever of you would like to come up first, I welcome you to join us up here at the front.
Together, sure, of course.
Together.
Sure, remove your mask.
I think we
Oh,
are.
you're in. You're good.
Yeah, you're fine. You can stand up straight.
Well, I will start first. So I think this is a very important process. Like I never thought that I was going to be able to be part of a church community that accepts me for who I am. And well, while I was showering today, I started to think about, oh, I need to write my speech. But then I asked Patricia, what is exactly a statement? Is it like a long thing? Or wait. So anyway, I was confused with that. But so I thought with this, like coming out is not an easy thing to do. It requires a lot of courage. A lot of courage to maybe try to face people who are going to reject you. And that's in my country, and in a different country is like way harder because you don't know how people is going to react. You end up worrying about what people will say instead of you being fully yourself. So I really appreciate that this has been a good process where people can know about this community that I am super proud of being. I can say that now because of you guys. All this process that we have been through is so significant for me. And thanks to all the work of the team, to Parker, and because, yeah, like he was our first contact to this community, and for all the people, especially the people who were to the very end of the process for the welcoming statement. I really appreciate that time and the openness to listen to the queer voices. And that's all. Thank you.
I agree that it is kind of a special time to be a queer person as far as history goes. I was thinking we have our next door neighbors are a lesbian couple in their 70s, and they're some of our favorite people. It makes us sad that we're moving for that reason. We'll miss them, but we had them over one time at a birthday party pre-COVID, and afterwards they commented like, all your friends look so straight. And I just thought, like, we're privileged to have friends who are straight, and they grew up and they came out at a time when that wasn't so simple, and we're privileged to be part of a church community because those haven't been around long. So we are very grateful to be part of this community, and for reasons that go beyond even just like the obvious. It's great to be part of a community where you feel like you can invite your friends or where you're free to explore your identity. So thank you.
I don't know about everybody else, but I definitely got a little misty there. Thank you both for sharing. One of the most important aspects of this program has been to emphasize and uphold the voices of queer people, especially within our congregation. And we are privileged to have queer voices among us already, that we're not doing something as a group of straight people, heteronormative people who are looking to do something for people that are out there in the world that we have no way to access. And for me, the biggest sign of success is that people who thought we were okay before to think that we're on the right path, and to hear that we are accomplishing our hopes and our goals of making sure that people feel welcomed and affirmed and supported to explore who they are and what their relationship is with the spirit, what their relationship is with religion in general. I can't ask for anything better than that. So thank you guys for participating, and thank you for being patient with us. And thank you especially for providing your words when we weren't quite getting it. And for reminding us why it's important to stick with this work and why it's important to keep listening. And so thank you guys from the bottom of my heart and from everybody else as well. Okay, moving on to the how. So the timeline that we have here, going from left to right, I'll just kind of go over the overview and we can go into the specifics as well. So members and leaders of the Calgary congregation approached Harmony in undertaking their welcoming and affirming program. This is something that had kind of been spoken about a few times pre-COVID, a few times over COVID. And then in summer 2021, Harmony completed a new curriculum for the welcoming and affirming program. And so it seemed like a natural time, especially after summer 2021, seeing that we were going to be going back into COVID and back into online gatherings, we thought that this would be a good opportunity. So Parker Johnson served as our Harmony liaison, Ashley Sabri as our Harmony facilitator, and Caitlin Ball as the core team leader and congregational support and contact person. So in October 2021, an invitation was offered to the Calgary congregation's email list to participate in our weekly sessions, and a group of dedicated attendees formed. The online meetings included lecture and discussion, beginning with basic terminology, theory, and history about the queer community. We explored individual and collective experiences of queer people in religious institutions, including Community of Christ. We identified ways that exclusion can be intentional or accidental, and how to best show our hearts. The ultimate goal of our workshop was to create a welcoming and affirming statement for the Calgary congregation. The intention of this statement is to show those in the queer community that our congregation is a welcoming, safe, and affirming place for them to walk their faith journey. So we started, like I said, in summer 2021. We decided to proceed in the fall. In September, we had the core team survey. So a small group survey was sent out to a few members of the congregation to assess Calgary's current state and kind of assess where we were in terms of Harmony's program, so that we identified as a track 1 congregation, that's the correct term. So we felt pretty good about that, but then we realized even as a track 1 congregation, there was still a lot for us to learn. In October 2021, we began the program. So we started with weekly Zoom meetings that continued into fall 2021 as well. And then in winter 2022, after Christmas, we came back together and came up with a framework to kind of guide us as we went through the rest of the process. And our framework was quite beautiful. We're really proud of it. It was responding to God's call to create and sustain a culture of hospitality and sanctuary. And then our final push in spring 2022 was to come up with our welcoming and affirming statement. So the group created a very thoughtful and powerful statement that is ready for congregational review, and that's why we're here tonight. So our welcoming and affirming statement reads, responding to God's call, we affirm and include queer and 2S LGBTQIA+ persons at every level of congregational life, in worship, in mission, in leadership, and in social occasions, welcoming them as whole, sacred persons. It goes on to read, we pledge to boldly, loudly, and joyfully affirm the worth of all persons by creating a sanctuary of rest and renewal where truth and stories are honored, by embracing the underrepresented divine gifts and experiences of queer individuals, and by faithfully acting on our call to repentance as lifelong learners, seeking to expand our understanding of God's diverse creation. We really like our statement. We're really proud of it. We hope you like it too. So the what now? By creating, adopting, promoting, and living out our welcoming and affirming statement, we are living in mission. Our goal is to become a sacred sanctuary for all people, and this is our first step to achieve that for the queer community. So our next step is to hold a business meeting to approve our welcoming and affirming statement. It's important that we do not expect our members and friends to become experts on queer issues, to be perfect in their use of terminology, or to be mind readers when a new person walks through the door. What we do ask is that our community keep their minds and hearts open, that they listen before speaking, that they are sensitive to life experiences that differ from their own, and that they acknowledge when they may have made a mistake or caused offense. We are all human, and none of us will get everything right 100% of the time. So another next step is we will display proudly and clearly our welcoming and affirming statement in our new space, on our website, and in print. We will use and display intentional symbols and signage to signal that we are a safe place for the queer community. We plan to participate in Pride and queer events throughout Calgary, including Pride Parade and different events. There's a queer arts festival coming up, queer film festival coming up, and lots of different things that happen around the city. So we're really excited about that. Sorry, I had to split up a few of these slides, so I'm just finding myself here. So we encourage our congregation to use welcoming and affirming language and actions to live out our commitment. And again, you do not have to be an expert. We just ask you to keep an open mind, an open heart, and to be patient. The best thing that we can do is acknowledge when we make a stumble in a kind way, to own it and consider how to proceed differently next time. So if you need more information, we have a ton of resources that Parker has been very dutiful about keeping up to date and building on, as we found so many great things. Harmony came with a ton of great things in their information package, as well as videos and online articles and websites that different participants found throughout the journey. So we have lots of really great resources. So you can see that on our webpage. These links have also been shared multiple times throughout our process. And we also have some of the information sessions from our Welcoming and Affirming program that were recorded when we were talking very heavily about terminology, theology, and historical queer events. And those that attended the program, which is most people who are here tonight, will also be great supports to the congregation. So please use these people as resources, ask them questions, have those discussions that, you know, maybe you would like a bit more information about a certain topic. We have talked about a great many things. So I can guarantee you that we have some really great discussions that we're eager to have with the bigger group. So last, please invite your friends and family within the congregation or adjacent to the congregation to inform themselves of our exciting project through the online resources. And for quick reference, we have created that simple but informative document to support our members and friends in this transition. It was actually Doug's idea to come up with a one-pager. He's a big fan of one-pagers, give you the quick and dirty of what you need to know. So we worked really hard to put together a simple document that again was attached in today's email that you can refer to. A cheat sheet, yes. So going forward, our congregational leadership is committed to supporting members and friends of the Calgary congregation as we make this vision a reality. Doug Hayden, myself, and Parker Johnson, as well as participants in the Welcoming and Affirming program, are available to answer questions and address comments and concerns regarding this process. If you are struggling with our increased level of inclusivity and are experiencing frustration, your voice is still important, and honesty will help us all to move forward together in a loving manner. Our ask is that you please refrain from voicing these feelings in situations that may be hurtful to those in the queer community. We expect growing pains and that our congregation may not always agree. But we ask that all people in our space are sensitive and respectful to those who may be hurt by an offhand comment. We will hold space for discussion and support during this process and encourage congregational participants to approach leadership members. So we really just want to make sure that everyone feels supported through this process, that it's not something, you know, that we're just going to walk all over people if they have questions and things like that. We do want this to be a really open process, as we have been the whole time. We've had so many great discussions that when people have said, you know, I'm just not getting this, or I'm just not quite there. And so we want that opportunity to be available for everyone. In conclusion, it is important for the Calgary congregation to support, include, and uphold our queer siblings in Christ. We have much to offer, but even more to gain by becoming welcoming and affirming to the queer community. We have completed sufficient education to create a thoughtful, welcoming, and affirming statement and are ready to hold a business meeting for its approval and adoption. Resources and support are available to anyone wanting more information or that are struggling with this process. And we are excited to move to the next phase of this holy work and start living out our commitment to being welcoming and affirming to the 2S LGBTQIA and queer community. And now the moment you maybe have all been waiting for, or nobody's been waiting for, is any questions and answers. I recognize that many of the people that are on our call tonight have participated in this program. So maybe there are no questions, but whether you've been part of the program or not, this is your opportunity to please raise your hand or come off your mic and ask questions, and either Ashley, myself, Parker, or Doug will answer them as best we can. Shirley, go ahead.
Wondered if, and I'm sorry, I was coming on the road. I had a road thing and I couldn't get here on time, but I was wondering if there was a thought of gathering together with like-minded churches to talk some more about more of a global, a larger group of people who could bring together maybe a little bit more understanding in our communities, rather than just for us, if you know what I mean. Often found that when there's something very important, it's good to gather resources from other people as well. Any thoughts on that? I'm talking ecumenical.
Are there Christian alliances?
Here, maybe I'll turn this way now. Hooray, you don't need to just look at me.
Can everyone hear? This is Parker. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Good question, Shirley. There are some ecumenical groups in Calgary for sure. Not everyone in those groups agree on this particular topic. There are subsets of that group, though, that we could certainly, continue to network with. One of the best ways, I think, would be to have a Pride booth at Calgary's Pride, and then you see what other groups show up, and you start kind of aligning yourself with them and say, okay, how could we partner on a future project, or are you doing any sort of educational curriculum that we could also partner with that? We could also share what Harmony's done with them. So I think, to me anyway, it's always nice to see who actually puts their money where their mouth is and shows up to those types of activities. But I'm certainly happy to do a bit more research. I don't know of any alliances in Calgary specifically, except for the one, and this is international, but the Church Clarity that we were scored by, which was, I don't know, 4 years ago. They score you based off of your level of affirming status. So on paper, before we even had this program, we had a really affirming policy. We had people in queer leadership, and so we were scored quite high on that. And there's a whole list of other congregations who, and other denominations rather, in Calgary that are doing similar work. So we could certainly reach out to them as well.
It's also important to think about our own denomination as well, worldwide, for those that can and are able to be supportive, how important it is to somehow or other, gather more input from other places as well. It just seems like a movement like this requires a lot of what I would consider collaboration and support. And I know that we're a small, vibrant group, but I also know that the more we can get people in the understanding of this particular situation, and the more people join in together, the more likely it affects our communities. That's all I'm saying. And I think it would be nice to be able to see how we can do that in the future, is to keep moving towards gathering other people like-minded to see what can be done.
Thanks, Shirley.
Are there any other questions or comments from the group here? Or the group here?
Well, we talked at times about maybe having like a field trip with members of our congregation to going to affirming congregations that are further along the path than we are, to go and just experience firsthand what it looks like, what it looks and feels like. And maybe surely that's something that we could do, is get whoever would be interested to go to one of those churches that's further along the process than we are.
Mm-hmm.
Something we could look into. We've talked about it before. Everybody likes this as much as I do?
Thumbs up. So Doug, can you just remind the group what the process is for calling the business meeting? How will that work? What will that look like?
We'll probably still be in a hybrid situation. Business meeting requires 2 weeks notice. So it'll be a case of giving 2 weeks notice. I assume maybe even a time like this, a weeknight in the evening, would that be okay for most people? Weekends tend to be busy. Probably be a similar time and situation to this on 2 weeks notice, and we'd like to do it fairly quickly to get things in place. And that's all we'll be too. There'll be a motion to accept this and away we go.
Does anybody have any questions about that process or any concerns? I think that the intent of this informational session was to provide all of the information prior to the business meeting. So when we get to the business meeting, we can essentially just present the statement and hopefully be able to pass it. So so that's our intent. I saw Ashley's hand up and Shirley's hand up.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, could you just repeat that? I think it kind of broke up a little bit. And since Doug's sitting kind of far away, it's just a little bit difficult to hear.
Oh, here, I can probably just restate it since I'm closer to the
Okay,
computer
perfect.
here. So essentially we would probably be looking at a hybrid model similar to this, some in person, some online, with 2 weeks notice before the business meeting is actually takes place. So Doug was offering perhaps a weeknight might be better for folks because weekends tend to be busy, but there are a few different ways that we can kind of figure out what the best timing for people is. But we would like to do it fairly soon because the summer is a great time to undertake some new projects, and also June is Pride Month. So that would be great to be able to be on board for that. Now that everybody has been able to hear that, are there any questions?
I have a question.
Yep.
So I very much would like to take part in that business meeting, but my concern is timing. Is there any way that I can submit my feelings on that or anything without actually being there?
Absolutely.
Yes, Doug says absolutely.
Like a
Okay.
statement. Yeah, if you want, we would read a statement.
Yeah, we could read a statement on your behalf. I don't think that we're quite at the point where we could have like remote ballots in terms of like casting ballots beforehand. But if you had something that you wanted us to read on your behalf or something like that. But I think that we can also, there's, like I said, there are different ways that we can figure out dates that will work for people, because of course we want to be able to incorporate the voices of as many people within the congregation as possible. So looking at what date would be convenient for most folks while also meeting a sooner timeline than later, but we can look into that for sure.
Right. Well, then I'll just put my 2 cents in. I like weekends.
Okay.
I know they're busy, but 7 o'clock is bedtime in my house. And so it's a very chaotic time.
Fair enough.
How about Saturday morning?
What about Saturday mornings, Doug says?
Saturday morning would be lovely.
Because we've used that before for different sessions.
Okay. Brendan, how does that work for the Cartwright household? Saturday mornings. It's a
that would
mystery.
be fine. Sorry.
Oh, no, that's okay.
Yeah, no, weekends and weekdays, all of it can be hard depending on the day. So,
Yes,
we'll
very
try to
true.
be involved.
Yeah. Soon dance season will be over, so that'll be something.
Could I ask
Okay.
why Sunday is a bad day? Because those that gather at the church itself will be there, usually on a Sunday if they can. Is a Sunday a bad time rather than Saturday? Because that's when a lot of people think of church, of course. And because of the summer times coming up real soon now, I'm just thinking about that. What's other people thinking about Sunday? Why is Sunday bad time? That's all I'm asking. What do we think about it? Just a question.
Okay, traditionally, sorry, you want to see more of my head. Traditionally, with business meetings that are business, we try to separate them from our worship experience. And so, and certainly with most of the business meetings we've had in the last number of years have been to deal with the new church, with the sale of the church, with the new property and those things. And it was important for me to make those decisions and those discussions separate from worship and not, we used to do them back to back. Worship followed by a business meeting. And I'd like to keep them separate so people had the energy and were rested and could really concentrate on the matter at hand. I never really liked business meetings that were just tagged on after a worship when people were hungry and tired and their bottoms were restless. I like business meetings where people come where they're fresh, their minds are clear, and you're sort of single-minded in your purpose. So that's my main intention, Shirley. Honestly, I think with what we're doing, it's so related to our mission and to our whole purpose for being, for our existence. I would probably be open to the idea of having a business meeting prior to our worship. So if we wanted, we could maybe take one Sunday where we bump beyond the walls and we had it at 10 o'clock. If people are okay and able to get to church by 10 in the morning, I'd certainly be open to doing it then and then following that with the worship. So there's my response.
Thanks.
Now we're leaned out.
Down Periscope.
Does anyone else have any other questions, concerns, comments to raise before we close out? We're just approaching an hour here, so wanting to be respectful of everyone's time as much as we all love hanging out, obviously.
This is Parker. I just want to say thank you so much for all the time that this congregation has put in. And, you know, whether you were on the calls or not, I know there were a lot of emails flying around to catch up on and see recaps and recordings and videos and articles and you name it. It just means a lot. And I actually just want to say, I feel like I know my congregation so much better. I feel closer to all of you now than I ever have, just some of the tough conversations that we've had and really honest conversations. And I just really look forward to seeing where this takes us. So thank you all so much.
Thank you for giving us the education and the understandings that we needed to have. And we're still going to keep learning.
I'll be sending report cards out.
He didn't tell you about the test that was at the end.
No.
Excellent. And I'll just also take the opportunity here to thank everyone in the congregation for their participation. It's meant a lot to me. I'm not a part of the queer community. I don't know what that life experience is, but I love a lot of people who are part of that community. And I think that this is a really tangible way for us to move forward tangibly in Calgary, to move forward as a congregation, and also to be a really loud and proud voice within Community of Christ to further the work that's already being done and the work that still needs to happen. So thank you all to each and every person who's participated, even if it was only once or twice. Thank you for those that are joining tonight who haven't been on our process. I really appreciate you taking the time to catch yourself up and to learn about what we've been up to for the last 8 months. We were hoping to be done by Christmas initially, but we discovered that that wasn't possible, but we're very proud of where we are now. So thank you all. Marilyn.
You know that I was fairly actively involved at the beginning, and then life kind of got in the way and I haven't been involved for a while. But I just want to say how pleased I am to see the words loud and proud in that statement. I think they're great choice of words. I like that.
Thank you. I think those were Patricia's words. I think that's what's happening in the background here is they were Patricia's words. We had a lot of, actually, I think that coming up with the welcoming and affirming statement was actually fairly easy once we got rolling. You know, there was lots of like, oh, can we move this word here? Can we take that one out and things like that? But we were all very united on the sentiments that we wanted to put forward. So I think that we're really jazzed about it. All right, seeing no more questions or comments, I will go to this last slide here. And all of these graphics, by the way, have been provided by Harmony as part of their Pride package. And so this last one, Parker's just pulling the PowerPoint back up here. But I really liked this one. And I just added, God is a proud parent of queer kids.
Oh.
So thank you all again for joining us tonight. Again, this conversation will be recorded and available on our website. So if you know of anybody who maybe was interested in joining tonight or might be interested in more information, we have all those resources available. We've got lots of printouts, videos, lots of different kinds of things for you to access. So thank you all again for your support and your engagement and all of the really great and sometimes difficult conversations that we've had. They've really, I think, enriched our group. They've certainly enriched my experience within the group. So thank you all to everyone. And I personally am just so excited about our next steps. So thank you. And hopefully we will see you all very soon.
Can I actually ask for that group picture again? Sorry,
Oh.
I realize I can do it over here,
Oh.
but you'll have to maybe maneuver, or some of us will have to
Yes.
scoot in the room to be able to get everybody in. I'll take it from this. computer.
Okay.
Just have to kneel down so you can see yourself. And then anyone who has their camera off, if you are able to turn it on quickly, that would be fantastic. No pressure.
Brandon, you're always in the park. It's always so lovely.
All right, we're gonna take several. 1, 2, 3. Got it.
Look at all these people.
Thank you. Thank you, Caitlin. Thank you, Ashley.
Thank you all.
Thanks, y'all. Bye, everyone. Take care.
Bye now.
Sorry, guys, I'm trying.